I have given 6 attempts starting from 2019. I have written 5 mains and I have given 3 interviews. I got my first selection in my 5th attempt, which was in CSE 2023 when I got into the Indian Police Services. And in this year, I have gotten into the Indian Administrative Service with rank 115.
Can you tell our students what are the main difference from the academic geography that you study and the geography optional that you study for the UPSC?
So when you are approaching geography in civil services, you are not approaching it as an academician. You are approaching it as a point of view of someone who wants to become an administrative service officer. And that, I think, leads to a major difference in what you study in college and what you study for UPSC.
In the student's mind, there is a perception that geography syllabus is quite vast. So, do you agree with this? Geography syllabus is quite vast.
Sir, to some extent I agree.
Hello students, today with us is a special guest, Ritwik Mehta, who has just secured All India rank 115 in this year's UPSC examination. Ritwik Mehta already happens to be in services. He is in IPS and this year he will get the IAS. In this session, we will mainly discuss about his journey of UPSC, mainly related to the geography optional, how he has prepared, how the newcomer needs to prepare. So welcome Ritwik in this session.
Thank you, sir.
So Ritwik, let's start with your brief introduction of your journey of this UPSC, how it gone in last few years.
So sir, my decision to enter into the civil services was taken pretty early while I was still in standard 12. And at that point of time, it was my father who was himself in the state forest services who suggested that I should go down this path, and it was his dream that I made my own. And from then on, I joined Kirodimal College, Delhi University with BA Honours Geography, following which I have given 6 attempts starting from 2019. I have written 5 mains and I have given 3 interviews. I got my first selection in my 5th attempt, which was in CSE 2023 when I got into the Indian Police Services. And in this year, I have gotten into the Indian Administrative Service with rank 115.
Great, Ritwik. So Ritwik, you come from the geography background and you have studied geography in college. And can you tell our students what are the main difference from the academic geography that you study and the geography optional that you study for the UPSC?
Definitely, sir. In fact, the change is pretty drastic. It was one of the major shocks that came to me because I had gone into Kirodimal College with the idea that I would be studying the subject in college as if I'm preparing for my optional. But that does not seem to be the case exactly. While there is some geographical understanding, a way of thinking that is imbibed in college, the kind of demand that geography has in UPSC is very different. The syllabus in itself is seen very comprehensively, whereas when you study it from an academic point of view, you break it into parts, you study it by semesters, and you do not go into as much administratively applicable side of geography, which is something that UPSC demands. So when you are approaching geography in civil services, you are not approaching it as an academician. You are approaching it as a point of view of someone who wants to become an administrative service officer. And that, I think, leads to a major difference in what you study in college and what you study for UPSC.
UPSC, right. Now, one question which almost most of the newcomers come across, and I will not say this is a question, this is basically myth, but I want to hear from you. In the student's mind, there is a perception that geography syllabus is quite vast. So, do you agree with this? Geography syllabus is quite vast.
Sir, to some extent I agree. But then I think that it has its positive sides more than negative sides. Like if you view it from the point of view as a large mountain that you have to climb, then you will obviously want to run away from the subject, considering the amount of contemporary application that geography has. In today's world, one of the most burning topics is environmental aspects of our life, with climate change and everything. And geography is one of those subjects that pioneers studies and research into it. So naturally the subject expands by virtue of its domain. However, if you look at it from the point of view of UPSC, Geography as an optional has a very good overlap with paper 1 and paper 3 in general studies, and also to some extent with the international relations aspect of paper 2, because you study the geopolitics as well. And therefore I believe it is single-handedly the only optional subject which covers so much ground in general studies as well. So if you look at it from an entire comprehensive viewpoint, I do not think it is a very vast syllabus. It is a manageable syllabus, and it is also a syllabus that pays off a lot of returns in optional and also outside it. And that I think has been the main factor which has motivated me to stick with this optional for attempt after attempt.
Attempt after attempt. And in fact, syllabus is not, of course, what you said is right, but also geography is the syllabus where everything is crystal clear. They are asking the question not from the anything out of the syllabus. So they are not asking the question from the between the line. And how is geography? Of course, in GS it is very much, you already said that, but how useful geography for the essay writing? Do you think that it is useful?
So, I think in geography we also study a bit of philosophy. Because of the geographical thought or perspectives portion of the subject, we have to have a very good understanding of how thought evolved not just in the field of geography but academia as a whole. And that I think provided a very good starting point to introduce or to approach the topics of essays. Apart from that, having a very good geographical understanding gives a very humanistic outlook to any candidate, any student of geography, because it is like geography calls itself a multidisciplinary subject. Therefore, you look at every issue with various dimensions. You do not just stick to the physical aspect of it, but also the emotional, the human, the social, cultural aspects of it as well. And geography there provides you with a lot of content, but also a deeper insight into the issues that plague the human society. When you look at topics of essays, they generally want us to delve into those aspects and come up with solutions or come up with a piece of writing which moves you. And I think geography has helped me particularly in that aspect as well.
Great. And one thing I think that you will also agree that the geography also plays very crucial role in the prelims, because since last 2-3 years they are asking almost more than 30 questions from the geography and environment. Now one more question I will ask Ritwik, that in geography how important is the diagram and maps? What is your thought in this?
So I think it is single-handedly the most important thing when you're writing the optional paper at least, and it is one habit that if you pick up, it automatically comes very handy in the general studies paper as well. So when it comes to optional, there were a couple of friends of mine who got selected before me, and one of the tricks that he told me was I used to have one diagram or one map on every sheet of my answer, and that is something I applied this year, and I could not make a lot of changes compared to my marks in the previous attempt, but my marks went up by 30.
Definitely you added 30 marks extra, and yes, that is a great jump.
Yes, sir. And I think one of the main differences was that I practiced a lot of map making and diagram making this year compared to the previous attempts, especially through the test series that I wrote. And that I think made a very crucial difference in the kind of marks that I got.
Okay. Now two things from your say. One thing I will ask first, that whether you have focused more on the India map or the world map. You draw for yourself. You have drawn more India map paper 2 or more world map in paper 1. What you applied?
So I think it was both, but India maps were useful in a greater degree.
Paper 2 or paper 1 mainly diagrams?
In paper 1 also, when I used to give an example, I did not necessarily limit myself to world examples, because Indian examples are also the examples of the world itself. So a lot of times the India map comes in handy there as well, and therefore I think the application of it increases. But another thing that I picked up in the last attempt was not just sticking to the world and India maps, but also going for regional and local level provinces or states. So let us say if I want to show some caste formation in Eastern Europe, I can also very quickly draw a very rudimentary representation
only
of Eastern
Europe.
Yeah, only Europe, and then market.
That is the correct way, that is the right way, and in fact that is what I used to always suggest. Go for the satellite view or the regional map. Great. Yes. And the one more thing I will ask, you already said, how useful is test series specifically for the student approaching the mains? Of course, test series will be useful for all, but I will stick to the usefulness of the test series for those students who are going to write the mains And specifically, would like to listen from you two answers. One from in general, and the second one, those who have already appeared in the mains but not able to qualify. So how they can utilize this test series?
So I think one of the reasons I was not getting good marks earlier was that I was avoiding test series like the plague. Like I did not used to write a lot of test series fearing that my syllabus is not complete or that I will not be able to write good answers and it will take a lot of time. But this was a major shift I made around 3 years ago after my third attempt, and after that only I've been able to get to the interview. So the 3 consecutive interview calls that I've got has been only after I realized the importance of the test series in all subjects, but specifically in optionals. Because in optionals, a lot of questions that you are writing will be repeated questions, and you can practice that through PYQs and test series only. And if you have written those answers at your home, those are answers that you can write word for word in the examination hall. This is not something which is possible with general studies. You will not get a repeat question. But in optional, you will have test series questions repeating. So for someone who's giving it for the first time, and let us say now there is a very little gap between prelims and mains starting from this year. Even the next year's calendar points in the same direction. So I think the one and only thing that one can do in this duration is revise very quickly and start writing test series. And this also applies to people who are giving mains repeated number of times, because you already have your core concepts clear. So like last year, the approach that I had after I had already gotten into the service was the first week after prelims, when the results had not yet come, I identified those areas of the syllabus where I felt that I still needed a bit of conceptual clarity. So for instance, for me it was oceanography and climatology. Apart from that, the rest of the syllabus I felt, whether it was paper 1, paper 2, it was clear. In the first 15 days, I quickly finished revision of all the syllabus, especially focusing on these 2 areas. After that, I stuck only to writing test series and practicing my maps, diagrams and case studies. And that was, I felt, a very comprehensive approach to towards the paper. And to me, that is the one thing that repeated attempters should do. Write test series very comprehensively, whether it is sectional or full length. One should write a complete test series in order to get very good grasp over the content.
Good. And also, how important is the feedback and mentorship for the test or whatever students are writing, specifically for those who are going to appear in the mains examination, and their marks is not improving even after writing, because sometimes if you have written 2 mains and you have not able to qualify, so lots of things creep in mind.
Great.
Lot of friends will say that change the optional and go for some other optional. So in that situation, what is your thought? The students should shift the optional, or they should look for some kind of personalized mentorship and feedback?
So shifting the optional is something, at the end of the day, it's the call of the aspirant. And if they really feel that they have a poor understanding of the subject in itself and they do not find the time to redo the subject, that is a separate question in itself. But I don't think someone who is qualifying prelims repeatedly or writing mains has that lacuna in their knowledge. So then it does come down to having a different approach, not having the basic approach. Many times we try to do a lot of things way too differently. Whereas actually what you need to do is what everyone else is doing. You need to stick to the basics and keep doing it well. So that recalibration comes when you have an evaluation mechanism. When you have someone who tells you that you really do not need to go down those paths. Simply stick to what is needed. They provide you the correct materials and the correct direction to look into. And that kind of mentorship helps a lot in optional. This can be through mentors. It can also be through peer groups, especially of geography optional students, because they will have as a combined group, you will have a better understanding of the subject.
Even I used to encourage all my test series students, specifically those who are writing, let's say 2 mains, 3 mains. I always say that yes, of course I am giving the feedback, but also you should look out that how others are writing. So to understand that what someone is writing, of course need not to replicate the same thing, but of course just try to look out that.
Yes.
Okay, Ritwik. And now one question for the newcomers. If some newcomer has decided to go with the geography optional, so what is your say that how much time it will take to cover the geography optional to a basic level?
So I think it will take around, considering the vastness of the syllabus, it will take around 4 months in my opinion. And I think if the approach is made streamlined, which I'll talk about in a minute, then it can be reduced. It can be around 3 months. So that method would be to not look at the entire syllabus as paper 1 and paper 2. Most of the subjects in paper 2 have a very clear extension of paper 1.
Yes.
Except for some very niche topics which you can leave, like if you remove the Indian physical geography aspect, everything else is continuation. The human geography part is just direct continuation of what theory you study in paper 1. So my approach, considering that because I've given repeated mains and interviews, I used to have very little time. I did not get the whole year to revise everything. And therefore my approach was always that I finish paper 1 revision, and in that I simply insert previous year question based, like I take the direction from previous year question and then I insert the paper 2 knowledge which is needed, and that I think makes for a very comprehensive understanding of the subject. So then if you look at it just one subject instead of 2 papers, it will not take more than 3 months, provided you are very thorough and you do not leave gaps, because every part of the subject contributes to the other part. It is a very combined subject. So for instance, you need to have the physical geography understanding well in order to understand the resource base. When you understand the resource base, you have understanding of the economic geography. When you have an understanding of that, you will understand the social and the cultural aspects of it. So it is a subject which is built from down to up. So if you move in the way the syllabus is written, you will get a very good understanding of the subject in limited time. But yes, it is a subject that also requires multiple revisions because of the vastness of it.
Now in multiple revision, Ritwik, how important is the notes, and how you prepared the notes?
So I believe notes are important in geography because of the fact that you have to combine both the papers. If you look out for, let us say, books, you will not get a book which takes you from paper 1 to paper 2 comprehensively. So it is you who has to make in the effort of getting it together. And when it comes to that, I prepared my notes. Initially, I had written most of my notes from different sources. But then after a point of time, I compiled it in a soft copy. And whenever I needed to add any new information, I used to do it on the soft copy itself. So my notes were arranged in a logical sequence instead of according to a syllabus. So when it was economic geography, it used to cover everything in paper 1 and paper 2 taken together, and that used to be like my last minute revision notes as well. So I did not have 2 sets of notes, only 1 set of notes which I used to prepare from and then revise also.
So you have revised just day before the examination from the same notes. You have not gone for any
so
very
the short notes I used to make in that. So the 1 week that we get before geography optional paper.
Any optional, yes.
So in that 1 week, I used to, when I'm reading my core notes, I used to just make very small. So that used to be act as a 2 revision thing. So I was writing it once, just very small 1 word things for everything.
The thing I was not able to, the thing you were not able to recall.
And then 1 day before the exam, if I want, I'll just go through that. So that used to be very specific. Like that used to have a list of all the thinkers. It used to have a list of all the theories that can be used, examples, case studies from every domain. So it did not used to be the theory part of it, because I believe everyone, if you have studied the subject well, you have a conceptual understanding. If I ask you a question on, let us say, monsoon, you will not be able to falter there. But yes, if you are able to have some contemporary examples relating to, let us say, erratic nature of it, if you have a case study or let us say IMD's report from a few months ago, if you quote it, that adds a lot of value to your answers. And that is something I also learned from my seniors. Like I remember it was Yashar Shekhar who talked about this, that he used to fish for interviews for content in the 3 months between prelims and mains. He picked up a lot of newspapers. So even I did that. In my whole preparation, I have not read newspapers except in the 3 months between prelims and mains. So then I used to take out newspapers and then quickly take out examples for every single topic, and that used to be my go-to revision.
Exactly. In fact, Yasarth has just by including all the things that you have included and a case studies example, by that only he got that 50 marks jump. And in fact, every student needs to try to do that, because knowing is not enough. You have to apply. So the things you have said, that those who are listening to us, those who are going to write this year's geography examination with geography option, they need to understand कि केवल हमें पता होने से जो है आप नहीं अप्लाई कर पाएंगे, आपको टेस्ट लिख के देखना पड़ेगा कि आप लिख पा रहे हैं कि नहीं लिख पा रहे. One more question, Ritwik, कि how important is contemporary issues, और आपने कैसे contemporary issues को manage किया?
So contemporary issues, I believe, if you look at the syllabus of contemporary issues in itself, which is given in the
Paper 2 chapter
Paper 2
10.
chapter, I think it is very comprehensive. It provides a very good view as to where to go. Apart from this, newspapers, if you have read for even 3 months and picked up some magazines, let us say Yojana, even I did not do that, but that was something that a lot of other people did and it helped. Personally, I remember, sir, it was in 23 when I had 22 or 23 when I had taken GS Core's test series.
Yeah, you were with me. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So at that point of time, we had you had published a list of contemporary affairs.
Yes. In 23, I have done the contemporary issues program, and in fact, I have given the material also, and I have given the
Yes, sir.
program also.
Yes, sir. So I think it was a 20 volume thing.
20
editions,
different sessions were there.
Yes, sir.
And in all the sessions, I have covered around 10 to 12 topics.
Yes, sir.
So total more than 200 topics. Yes.
So, sir, actually, in that year, I was not able to join the series at time. Like, I joined it after 1.5 or 2 months had already passed. So, I only had the last month left. So, what I did was, I simply took screenshots of the topics. Because if I went to read the notes at that point of time, it would have been a big thing for me. But later, I felt if I had read it, it would have added more content. So, I simply took the topics, and from those topics, I created my own, like whatever examples I already had or data I already had, I simply fitted into those topics. So I knew that these are topics that can be asked. And generally questions will come from expected areas in geography. You are not going to get, let us say, removing 1 or 2 questions of 10 markers. You are not going to get some bouncers in the exam. So those can be handled pretty well if you have a good static understanding.
And what would be your final suggestion to all the students related to the answer writing? One suggestion that you want to give, only for the students that are going to appear this year's mains examination for the answer writing. There are 2-3 things that they need to mandatorily focus.
So according to me, the first would be to have a very good paper 1, paper 2 linkage at all points of time. You can keep quoting thinkers and geographers from paper 1 well into paper 2, and also if you can access it, you can use ChatGPT very well for this to generate examples, thinkers of paper 2, like Indian thinkers in paper 1 as well. That provides a very comprehensive outlook. Secondly, I think frameworking of answers is a very good thing to do. Like, if you're not able to completely write a test series towards the last few months or weeks, because sometimes you get overwhelmed. You also have to study GS, you have to prepare for essay as well. So what you can do is you simply take the question, and in one page you create a framework as to what you would write had you had the time. So instead of writing something for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, you have written that same thing in 3 minutes and moved on. And those can act as ready-made notes also for you in the last week of revision. So that is something I also did this year, because I also had to focus on other areas of my subject. Paper 2, GS paper 2, I was trying to work on a lot on that. So in geography, I created a lot of frameworks for the various question papers that I got, test series that I had. I created frameworks instead of writing the whole answers. Also, one must go through the PYQ every year before the mains. Whether you have done it in the past or not, you must see the previous year questions once more. And thirdly, I would say map making and diagram making. It has to be practiced very extensively even before you get into the hall. You will not be able to generate new maps and ideas there and then. But if you have practiced it, it will come very naturally to you. And it will come not just in optional but also in the GS papers.
And how many entries you got right in paper 2 map marking this year?
So this year was I would say this year was an aberration. Generally, I used to get 6 to 8 correct without any issue. Last year I had 10 out of 10 correct.
10 out of 10.
This year I only attempted 3, of which I was sure of 2, and 1 I thought that okay, maybe this is where it should be.
But that doesn't matter because you already got the
yes, and I got decent score in paper 2 as well. So I think it would have boosted my score, but then you cannot really predict what happens. And in common years, the map marking section is a section where you get marks. Like compared to other optionals, you have one section where you can aim of clearly getting all of those right, and
generally 6 to 7 locations are from the static part. तो जिस तरीके से आपने बताया कि प्रिपरेशन करते हैं, मुझे लगता है अगर आप कोई भी स्टूडेंट सीरियसली प्रिपरेशन किया है तो 6-7 मार्क्स लोकेशन बहुत आराम से लोकेट कर सकता है. एंड ऑफ कोर्स दैट इन 23 यू आर लकी टू गेट ऑल द 10. तो वो 10 मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ अपने स्टूडेंट को, 10 जो है थोड़ा ओवर एम्बिशियस है,
वो लक फैक्टर है सर उसमें, डेफिनेटली
लक फैक्टर आ गया. अदरवाइज 6 to 7 इज क्वाइट गुड. सो यू हैव डन एक्सेप्शनली वेल Ritvik. So again wish you all the best for your upcoming future. both in the professional life, in personal life.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks for your time. Ritwik was connected with me since 2023, right?
Yes.
23 or 22?
22, I think 22 I was connected, yes.
Ritwik connected with me since 2022, and this year it was his fifth attempt, and in this attempt he got the IAS. And in this session, Ritwik have talked extensively for the geography optional, and I hope that all of you must be get benefited by the insight given by the Ritwik Mehta. So thank you all. Thank you.